Marcus Chen wiped the acidic lubricant from his hands, the caustic blue liquid leaving faint tingles on his calloused skin. Another repair completed on a Drexian environmental suit, the third one this week. The frontier colony of Threshold 7 attracted all types, and most of them seemed incapable of maintaining their own equipment. He glanced around his workshop, a converted storage unit in the commercial sector of New Providence, the colony's primary settlement. The space was cramped but organized, every tool in its place, every component catalogued. Old habits from his previous life, when precision mattered more than profits. That life felt like another universe now. 5 years ago, Marcus had been Dr. Marcus Chen, lead acoustic engineer for TerraCorp's Deep Space Communications Division. He designed resonance systems that could transmit data through solid planetary cores, had pioneered harmonic technologies that made him the youngest department head in company history. Then came the accident, the experimental relay station. 17 people dead because of a frequency miscalculation he'd approved. The investigation cleared him of criminal negligence, but Marcus couldn't clear himself. He'd resigned, liquidated his savings, and caught the first transport to the frontier, as far from Earth's corporate towers as he could get. Now he fixed broken things for aliens who barely knew his name. It was penance, and it was enough. The afternoon sun cast long shadows through the open bay door when Marcus first noticed her. A small figure, no taller than his hip, standing at the edge of the light. Her chitinous exoskeleton gleamed with an iridescent purple sheen, and her forearms hung with an unusual stillness at her sides. A Quellan child. That was rare. The insectoid species kept to themselves in their sector of the colony, their social structures complex and largely impenetrable to other species. "Can I help you?" Marcus asked, setting down his tools. The child didn't respond. Her compound eyes, vast and multifaceted like dark opals, fixed on him with an intensity that was unnerving. Quellans typically communicated through a combination of sonic pulses, produced by resonance chambers in their thoraxes, and subtle pheromone signals. Marcus's translator implant could handle the sonic component, but this child remained silent. She took a step forward, then another, her 6 legs moving with the characteristic fluidity of her species. When she reached his primary workbench, she stopped and placed one delicate hand on the metal surface. Marcus felt it, then a faint vibration through the bench. Not random, but patterned, deliberate. His engineering mind engaged automatically, analyzing the frequency and rhythm. It was crude, inefficient, but it was communication. She was tapping out a message in pure mechanical vibration. "You're trying to talk to me," he said softly. The child's antennae quivered. What Marcus had learned was a Quellan sign of affirmation. Over the next hour, through patient trial and error, Marcus established a basic system. The child would tap patterns on surfaces, and he'd interpret them through a modified seismic sensor he normally used for diagnosing engine vibrations. It was exhausting and imprecise, but it worked. Her name was Zhikara. She was 7 cycles old, about 9 in human years, and she came back the next day. And the day after that. By the end of the first week, Marcus had grown accustomed to her presence. She would arrive in the late afternoon, find her spot on a polymer crate near his main workstation, and watch him work. Sometimes she'd help. Her forearms surprisingly deft at holding components or retrieving tools he pointed to. She never made a sound. On the 8th day, Marcus decided to ask the question that had been nagging at him. Using the vibration system they developed, he carefully tapped out. "Why can't you speak normally?" Shkara's entire body went still. For a long moment, Marcus thought he'd overstepped some cultural boundary. Then she moved to the workbench and began tapping out a longer message than she'd ever attempted. The story came in fragments. An accident during a molt. A critical developmental stage for young Quellens. Damage to her resonance chambers. The physicians said it was permanent. Without the ability to produce the sonic frequencies that formed the basis of Quellen language, she was effectively mute in her own society. Marcus felt a familiar weight settle in his chest. Another broken thing. Another life altered by an accident. "I'm sorry." He tapped back. Shkara's response was simple. "Fix." Marcus sat back, his mind already racing. Could it be fixed? The resonance chambers were biological, far beyond his expertise. But the principle was sound. They were essentially organic acoustic generators. What if he could create an artificial system? A device that could translate neural impulses into the frequencies Quellens used for communication? "I don't know," he tapped honestly, "but I can try." The next 5 days blurred together in a haze of focused intensity that Marcus hadn't experienced since before the accident. He barely slept, sustained by stimulant tabs and the drive to solve an impossible problem. The challenge was multifaceted. First, he needed to understand Quellen neural patterns, how their brains formulated language. He traded favors with a xenobiologist at the colony's research station, obtaining detailed scans of Quellen neurophysiology. Second, he had to create a device that could interface with those neural patterns without invasive surgery. Third, the output had to match the precise frequency ranges and harmonic complexity of natural Quellen. Speech. His workshop became a laboratory. He cannibalized equipment from a dozen different species, a Velorian thought reader, for the neural interface. Crystalline resonators from a Kessian meditation device, microspeakers from a Drexian translator unit. He synthesized new components when existing technology failed. Drawing on years of acoustic engineering expertise, he tried to forget. Zhikara came every day, watching his progress with patient, unblinking eyes. Sometimes she'd tap questions. Will it hurt? Will others understand? Will I sound normal? Marcus answered as honestly as he could. He didn't know. This was entirely theoretical. A Hail Mary attempt by a washed-up engineer to help a child who reminded him too much of his own. Failures on the 5th night. Working by the blue glow of a plasma torch, Marcus completed the device. It was smaller than he'd initially designed, about the size of his thumb. Sleek crescent of silver and crystal that would attach to the thorax directly above where the damaged resonance chambers lay dormant. The neural interface would read Shkara's speech intentions. The crystalline matrix would generate the appropriate harmonic frequencies, and the microspeakers would project them at the correct amplitude and directional focus. In theory and practice were often galaxies apart, Skara arrived the next afternoon as usual. When she saw the device laid out on a clean cloth, her antennae stood straight up, extreme interest or excitement. Marcus had learned. "It's ready," he said aloud, then tapped it out on the bench for confirmation. "But I need to be clear, this is experimental. I don't know if it'll work, and I don't know if there could be side effects. I'm not a doctor, I'm just," he trailed off, "just a broken engineer trying to fix a broken child." Skara moved to the bench and tapped firmly. "Trust you." Those two words, crude vibrations through metal, nearly broke him. The installation was nerve-wracking. The device attached via biocompatible adhesive that would bond with her exoskeleton. Marcus's hands, usually steady even under pressure, trembled slightly as he positioned the crescent against her thorax. Skara stood perfectly still, her compound eyes watching him in the reflection of a polished surface. The adhesive set with a faint hiss. Marcus activated the device with a wireless signal from his tablet, watching the diagnostic readouts scroll past. Neural interface connected. Harmonic generators online. Power cell optimal. All green indicators. "Okay," Marcus said, his throat tight. "Try to speak. Just think words like you would naturally for a heartbeat." Nothing happened. Then the device hummed, a sound so faint Marcus almost missed it. The hum shifted, modulated, became a complex harmonic frequency that his translator implant immediately processed. Can you hear me?" The voice was young, feminine. Musical, proper Quellan voice with all the right overtones and resonances. Skara's antennae shot up again, and her entire body began vibrating, not with speech, but with what Marcus recognized as Quellan laughter. "It works. I can talk. I can really talk." Marcus felt wetness on his cheeks and realized he was crying. "Yeah, kiddo, you can talk." Zhakara spun in a circle, her 6 legs carrying her in a joyous dance around the workshop. She spoke continuously, as if making up for months of silence. "Thank you, thank you, thank you. You fixed me. Marcus fixed me. I can talk to Mother now and Grandmother, and the teachers and everyone." She rushed back to him and wrapped all 4 arms around his waist in an embrace that squeezed the air from his lungs. Marcus hugged her back, carefully avoiding her antennae. "You're welcome," he managed. "But listen, the device will need adjustments as you grow, and you'll have to charge it every night. I'll show you how. And if anything feels wrong, anything at all, you come straight back here. Understood? Understood." Skara's voice rang with pure joy. She stayed another hour, practicing speech, experimenting with tones and volumes. Marcus made minor calibrations, fine-tuning the output to more closely match natural Quellan vocal patterns. When the sun began to set, casting the workshop in amber light, Zhakara finally prepared to leave. "My mother will want to know who helped me," she said, her new voice taking on a serious tone. "I will tell her about the kind human engineer." "That's fine," Marcus replied, already turning back to his regular work, ready to resume his normal, quiet existence. Skara paused at the bay door. "Marcus, you said you weren't a doctor, but you are a healer. You heal broken things, broken machines, and broken people. Before he could respond, she was gone, scuttling into the evening crowd with a speed and confidence he'd never seen from her before. Marcus stood alone in his workshop, surrounded by the tools of his trade and the ghosts of his past. For the first time in 5 years, the weight felt a little lighter. He didn't know that in the elegant towers of the Quellan sector, Shkara was telling her story to a mother who had not heard her daughter's voice in 8 months. He didn't know that this mother was Princess Velsha, second in line to the Quellan matriarchal throne. He didn't know that the Queen Matriarch herself would hear of the human who had accomplished what Quellan's finest physicians deemed impossible. He didn't know that for days later, his simple life would end forever. Marcus cleaned his tools, locked the workshop, and headed to his small apartment above a noodle shop, thinking only of sleep and maybe, just maybe, the faint possibility of redemption. The 6 royal guards arrived on the morning of the 5th day, their ceremonial armor gleaming like liquid mercury in the harsh colonial sunlight. Marcus was calibrating a gravity regulator when the shadow fell across his workbench. 6 shadows, actually, blocking the morning sun with mathematical precision. He looked up and felt his stomach drop. The Quellan Royal Guard were unmistakable. Each stood nearly 7 feet tall giants. Among their species, their exoskeletons enhanced with biometallic plating that shimmered with iridescent silver and deep purple. They wore ceremonial armor that Marcus recognized from history files, ancient designs dating back thousands of years. When the Quellan Empire had spanned 17 star systems, the lead guard stepped forward, her forearms held in a formal posture that Marcus's cultural database identified as official business of the highest order. Marcus Chen, human engineer. Her voice resonated with perfect clarity through his translator implant. You are summoned to the Hive Palace by order of Queen Matriarch Shrotta. You will accompany us immediately. Marcus's mouth went dry. What? Why? Questions will be answered at the palace. Gather personal effects you require for an extended absence. Extended. How extended are we talking? The guard's compound eyes reflected his image 1,000 times over. That will be determined by the matriarch. You have 5 minutes. Marcus's mind raced. The Hive Palace, the seat of Quellan power on Threshold 7 and, by extension, this entire sector, home to the Queen Matriarch and the royal family. He'd never even been to the Quellan sector, let alone their palace. Am I under arrest? The guard's antennae twitched a gesture Marcus had learned meant mild amusement. If you were under arrest, human, we would not have offered you time to gather belongings. 4 minutes, 30 seconds remain. Marcus scrambled through his workshop, throwing essentials into a worn travel bag. Clean clothes, basic tools, his personal tablet with all his engineering files. His hands shook as he worked. What had he done wrong? Was there some protocol about treating Quellan children he'd violated? Some cultural taboo he'd unknowingly crossed? Shkara. This had to be about Z.H. Shkara. 5 minutes later, Marcus stood outside his workshop as one of the guards sealed the door with an official lock, bearing the royal crest. A sleek transport vehicle waited at the curb, nothing like the battered commercial haulers that typically rumbled through this district. This was a work of art. Its hull formed from the same biometallic compound as the guard's armor. The journey through New Providence gave Marcus too much time to imagine worst-case scenarios. They passed from the mixed-species commercial district into progressively more homogeneous neighborhoods. The architecture changed, became more organic, more fluid. Structures that looked grown rather than built, with sweeping curves and surfaces that seemed to breathe. The Quellen sector occupied the eastern third of the colony, separated from the rest of New Providence by both geography and design. A river marked the boundary, crossed by 3 elegant bridges that appeared to be made from a single piece of crystallized resin. As they crossed, Marcus noticed Quellins stopping to watch the transport pass. Some pressed their thoraxes together in what he recognized as a gesture of respect or reverence. The royal crest on the vehicle's hull clearly commanded attention. The Hive Palace dominated the landscape like a mountain. It rose 12 stories, each level larger than the one above, creating an inverted pyramid that seemed to defy physics. The outer walls were translucent amber, shot through with veins of deeper purple. Through them, Marcus could see movement, hundreds of Quellins going about their business in the interconnected chambers that formed the palace's interior. The transport entered through a massive archway into a reception hall that made Marcus feel like an insect himself. The ceiling soared at least 50 feet overhead, supported by pillars carved to resemble ancient trees. Bioluminescent fungi grew in carefully cultivated patterns, providing a soft, golden light. This way, the lead guard instructed. They walked for what felt like miles through corridors that twisted and turned according to some logic Marcus couldn't fathom. He passed Quellins in various types of dress, some in simple tunics, others in elaborate robes that marked them as scholars or administrators. All stopped and pressed their thoraxes together when the royal guard passed. Finally, they entered an antechamber where a Quellin official waited. This one wore robes of deep crimson embroidered with silver thread in patterns. That hurt Marcus's eyes when he looked at them directly. Marcus Chen, the official's voice carried formal authority. I am Keeper Tross, third administrator to the Queen Matriarch. You have been summoned to answer questions regarding your recent intervention. With a member of the royal family, Marcus's worst fears crystallized. I can explain. Shkara came to my workshop, and I only wanted to help. I didn't know she was. You will speak only when addressed directly by the matriarch or her designated questioner, Tross interrupted. You will answer truthfully and completely. You will show proper deference to all members of the royal family. Do you understand these instructions? I understand. Then prepare yourself. The matriarch will see you now. The doors to the throne room opened silently, revealing a space that took Marcus's breath away. The chamber was circular, easily to 100 feet in diameter, with walls that seemed to be made of living crystal. Light filtered through in prismatic patterns, creating a constantly shifting display of color and shadow. At the far end, on a raised dais, sat Queen Matriarch Shrotta. She was ancient. Marcus could see it in the deep purple-black of her exoskeleton, in the deliberate economy of her movements. Quellins didn't show age the way humans did, but certain signs were unmistakable. The matriarch's compound eyes held a depth and complexity that spoke of centuries of rule. Around her stood at least 20 other Quellins, all in formal attire. Advisors, Marcus guessed. witnesses to whatever judgment was about to be passed on him. The guards led him forward to a spot marked on the floor. "Kneel," the lead guard whispered. Marcus knelt, his bag set aside, his head bowed as he'd seen in cultural briefings. Marcus Chen. The matriarch's voice was like nothing Marcus had ever heard, ancient, powerful, resonating with harmonics that his translator struggled to fully process. "Look upon me." Marcus raised his head. The Queen Matriarch studied him with an intensity that made him feel transparent, as if she could see every thought, every secret, every failure that haunted him. "You have interfered with my great-granddaughter," she stated. Not a question, an accusation. "Yes, Your Majesty. I created a device to help her communicate, without permission, without consultation with our physicians, without understanding of our biology or our customs." Each phrase fell like a hammer blow. "That's true. I apologize for any." Silence. The word cracked across the chamber. "You will answer questions, not offer excuses." An older Quellen stepped forward from the group of advisors. His robes marked him as a physician, and his bearing radiated professional indignation. "I am Dr. Veldos, chief physician to the royal family. I have examined the device you attached to Princess Zhakara. It is crude, potentially dangerous, and interferes with natural healing processes." Marcus's engineering instincts flared. "With respect, Doctor, the device doesn't interfere with anything. It provides an alternative pathway for—" "You dare contradict our chief physician?" Another advisor stepped forward, this one in military regalia. "You, a human, presume to understand Quellen physiology better than our own experts?" "I don't presume anything," Marcus said, fighting to keep his voice steady. "I built a tool based on acoustic engineering principles. The interface is non-invasive. It doesn't prevent natural healing, it just provides communication capability. While healing is attempted. Veldos' antennae quivered with anger. "There is no attempt. The damage to Zhakara's resonance chambers is permanent. We exhausted every treatment option. Then what harm does my device do?" Marcus asked. "If she can never speak naturally anyway, why not let her speak artificially?" The chamber erupted in a cacophony of competing sonic frequencies. The advisors argued among themselves in rapid Quellen that Marcus's translator couldn't keep up with. Through the chaos, the Queen Matriarch sat perfectly still, her vast eyes never leaving Marcus. Finally, she raised one hand. Instant silence. "This human raises a valid point," she said slowly. "If our medicine cannot restore what was lost, why object to an alternative solution?" Dr. Veldos' entire body stiffened. "Your Majesty, the principle, Doctor, is that my great-granddaughter could not speak for 8 months. Now she can. I heard her voice yesterday for the first time since the accident." The matriarch's voice softened almost imperceptibly. "Do you know what that means to a grandmother?" The doctor bowed low. "Of course, Your Majesty, but the long-term effects are unknown," the matriarch finished, "as are the long-term effects of leaving her mute." She turned her attention back to Marcus. "Human engineer, why did you help Zhakara?" Marcus considered lying, offering some noble-sounding explanation. But something in the matriarch's gaze demanded truth. "She reminded me of something I broke once. he said quietly. Someone I couldn't save. I thought maybe I could save her instead. You sought redemption. I suppose I did. And did you find it? Marcus thought of ZH Joy, her voice ringing through his workshop. For a moment, yes. The matriarch was silent for a long time. When she finally spoke, her voice carried a weight that suggested a decision of enormous significance. The human has violated protocol. He has acted without authorization in treating a member of the royal family. He has employed technology our own experts question. By our oldest laws, he could be expelled from our sector, forbidden from contact with any Quellan citizen. Marcus's heart sank. So this was judgment after all. However, the matriarch continued. He has also accomplished what our finest minds deemed impossible. He has restored voice to silence. He has given my great-granddaughter back her future. She paused. Tell me, Marcus Chen, could you create more of these devices? Could you improve upon the design? Marcus blinked, confused by the turn. Yes. With proper resources and time to refine the technology, I could create more sophisticated versions, better neural interfaces, more efficient power systems, finer harmonic control. And could you apply your engineering skills to other challenges? Other problems that traditional Quellan approaches have failed to solve? Possibly. I'd need to understand the specific challenges. The matriarch rose from her throne, a movement that commanded absolute attention. Then I offer you a choice, Marcus Chen. You may return to your workshop and your simple life. With our gratitude and a substantial monetary reward for your service to ZH. Or you may accept a position as royal engineer, working within the palace to develop technologies that blend human ingenuity with Quellan resources. The chamber fell silent. Every eye was on Marcus. I don't understand, he said. You were ready to expel me a moment ago. I was testing your character, the matriarch replied. A being who cowers reveals themselves unworthy of trust. A being who stands firm and speaks truth, even in the face of power, reveals something more valuable. Your Majesty, Dr. Velvos interjected. Surely we cannot simply install a human in the palace. The security concerns alone. Are you questioning my judgment, Doctor? No, Your Majesty. I merely suggest deliberation. I have deliberated. For 8 months I watched my great-granddaughter sink into despair. This human ended that despair in 5 days. She turned back to Marcus. What is your answer? Marcus's mind whirled. Accept, and his quiet life ended. Everything would change. But refuse, and what? Return to fixing broken machines while knowing he could do more? Before he could answer, a door at the side of the chamber opened. A Quellan female entered, and Marcus's breath caught. She was smaller than the queen matriarch, but moved with similar grace and authority. Her exoskeleton gleamed with a deep purple that bordered on violet, and her robe's elegant silver and white marked her as high nobility. But it was her eyes that struck him. Where most Quellan compound eyes appeared uniform, hers held visible variations in their faceting, creating an almost hypnotic effect. Walking beside her, one small hand clasped in the larger Quellan's hand. Was ZH grandmother? The adult Quellan's voice was musical, complex. I must speak, Velcia. The matriarch's tone softened. You should be resting. I have rested enough. Velcia, Shkara's mother. Marcus realized approached the days. I heard you were passing judgment on the human who helped my daughter. I claim my right as her mother to be heard. The matriarch inclined her head. Speak, daughter. Velcia turned to face Marcus fully. Her gaze swept over him, analytical and intense. You are Marcus Chen. I am. You gave my daughter her voice back. I built a device. She did the rest. Velcia studied him for another long moment. Our physicians spent months examining ZHY. They performed countless scans, tried 17 different treatments, consulted specialists across 3-star systems. All failed. You succeeded where they could not. Marcus wasn't sure if this was praise or another accusation. Yet you did this without permission, Velcia continued. Without consulting me, her mother. You made decisions about my daughter's treatment based on your own judgment. How do you justify this? Marcus met her gaze. I don't justify it. You're right, I should have sought permission. But ZHY came to me, silent and alone, and I saw a problem I might be able to solve. I chose to act rather than navigate bureaucracy that might have ended in refusal. If that was wrong, I apologize. If it was wrong. Velcia's antennae rose. You show no remorse. I show no remorse for helping your daughter, Marcus said firmly. I apologize for the breach of protocol, but I won't apologize for giving Shkara her voice back. The tension in the chamber became almost physical. Then, unexpectedly, Velcia's thorax vibrated a sound Marcus recognized as laughter. You are either very brave or very foolish, human, probably both. Velcia turned to the Queen Matriarch. Grandmother, I support your offer. Appoint him Royal Engineer, but I have one condition. Name it. He works under my direct supervision. I will oversee all his projects, approve all his designs. If his human methods are to be integrated with our technology, I will ensure they do not harm our people. The matriarch's antennae twitched with what might have been amusement. You wish to become his manager? I wish to protect our people while allowing innovation. Is that not the balance we have always sought? It is. The matriarch looked at Marcus. Do you accept these terms? The position of Royal Engineer, working under Princess Velcia's supervision. Marcus looked at ZHY, who was practically vibrating with excitement. At Velcia, whose expression remained unreadable, but whose eyes held something complex suspicion and curiosity, and perhaps, just perhaps, a hint of respect. He thought of his empty workshop, his solitary existence, his daily penance for failures he couldn't undo. Maybe it was time to stop running. I accept, Marcus said. The Queen Matriarch rose. Then it is decided. Marcus Chen, you are hereby appointed Royal Engineer of House Schrotter. You will be provided quarters within the palace, access to our laboratories and resources, and a stipend appropriate to your station. You will report to Princess Velcia and serve at the pleasure of the matriarchy. She descended from her dais and approached Marcus. Up close, her sheer presence was overwhelming. Do not make me regret this decision. Human, I'll do my best, Your Majesty. As the formal ceremony concluded, and the assembled advisors dispersed some pleased, Many clearly skeptical Kara broke free from her mother and rushed to Marcus. "You're staying." Her voice sang with joy. "I told Mother you would stay. I told her you were the best engineer in the whole colony." Marcus knelt to her level. "Well, I'll try to live up to that recommendation." Velsia approached more slowly. "Come, I will show you to your quarters and the laboratory spaces. We have much to discuss about your duties and limitations." As Marcus followed Velsia through the palace corridors, Shkara chattering excitedly between them, he realized his life had just been completely upended by the very thing. He'd tried to leave behind his skill at solving impossible problems. Behind them, in the throne room, Queen Matriarch Shrotter watched them depart. Beside her, Keeper Tross spoke quietly. "A bold decision, Your Majesty. Many will question the wisdom of elevating a human to such a position. Let them question." The matriarch replied, "I have ruled for 3 centuries, Tross. I have learned to recognize potential when I see it. That human carries wounds, yes, but wounded beings often understand pain in ways the uninjured cannot." Shkara needed someone who understood brokenness, and Princess Velsia, assigning her to supervise him. The matriarch's antennae twitched with definite amusement. "My granddaughter-in-law has been hollow since my grandson's death. Focused only on duty, on the Achikara, never on herself. Perhaps this human engineer will prove interesting to her. You play at matchmaking, Your Majesty. I play at healing, Tross. In whatever form it takes." In the corridors beyond, Marcus Chen walked toward his new future, unaware that he had just become a piece in a game far more complex than engineering.